While driving around the Tri-Cities area, one would not be surprised to notice many Christian churches with very little other diversity. These churches may be Protestant, Catholic, or the Church of the Latter-day Saints, or Mormon. While there is some diversity and representation among these branches of Christianity, one might wonder what other religions are represented in the Tri-Cities. According to bestplaces.net, 44.2% of people in Kennewick alone identify themselves as religious, and that percentage is even a tad lower for the average of the Tri-Cities as a whole. Of those who consider themselves religious, 2.2% are Baptist, 16% are Catholic, a little less than 9% are LDS, and the category of other Christian makes up about 8%. These groups alone make up roughly 35.2% of the people in Kennewick who identify as religious. So what other religions make up the religious percentage of the Tri-Cities population? Upon asking myself this question, I remembered a trip I took my freshman year of high school with my human geography class, with which we visited many diverse places of worship during our study of religions around the world, and I started from there. The first place I visited was the Lao Buddhist Temple on 27th Avenue. According to Manta, the temple is staffed by just 2 individuals. Most likely this is because in all of America, PewForum.com found that only about 1% of the population is Buddhist. There are most likely not very many people who subscribe to that religion, which is telling by the fact that no census of the Tri-Cities included data of how many of those individuals there are. The same can be said for Hindu. I did not once find any mention of the Hindu population anywhere on websites about the Tri-Cities. However, on Bombing Range Road, there is the Hindu Society of Eastern Washington. BestPlaces.net did include the information that 0.5% of the population in Tri-Cities subscribes to Islam, and I returned to the Islamic Center of Tri-Cities as I had when I was in high school learning about Islam. The website goes on to mention that about 0.4% of the religions in the Tri-Cities are of Eastern origins.
So, how about that Holocaust? No, not too big of a fan. Not really, no. The Chazan at the synagogue is the person who leads the congregation through prayer, like the Shema, the Amidah, and the Aaronic benediction, and sometimes even the Mourner's Kaddish. Unless we're talking about the Holocaust or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, there's not really much representation of Jews in the media or literature. No.
So, not even. Could you think of any children's books that we might see that involves Jewish heritage or religion or anything?
The Rugrats? Well, I'll be going out into town, like Safeway or Walmart, and people will notice my kippah, they'll notice my tzitzit, and they'll say, hey, they'll walk up to me, they'll say, hey, are you Jewish? And I'll be like, yeah. And then, I'll usually get oh, sorry, was that offensive? Or, hey, have you heard about Jesus? Well, what I want people to realize is that Jewish people, we're not a people who are just prone to tragedy where every country in the world is just ganged up on us like a bunch of thugs in an alley, but that we're people who stand strong in the midst of persecution, that we're people who believe that it is our mission to bring the divine revelation of God to the Gentiles.
More can be learned about diverse religions through representation. Not only through representation will people like Preston have more educational discussions about their religion or where they came from, but also people who are of diverse religions will benefit from seeing themselves represented in the community around them. This includes children.
So as far as the media goes, no, I don't see a lot of minority portrayed well in the media or in movies or things like that. However, the children's books are making a concerted effort to try and correct that. There is a group that counts this topic, trying to make sure that things are improving, and that percentage of minorities portrayed in books where the person is not just a supporting character way off in the corner was only 8% and has only been 8% for 20 years. That is not a good thing. And the librarians are not happy about it as a library association. So they're making concerted efforts to use the tax dollars to make sure that everybody can see themselves in literature. And things seem to be improving. The math doesn't actually show that yet, but many of the newer books that you will see have an updated approach. Sometimes the books are still talking about the struggle in being a minority more than they're telling a story that involves the minority, but that is a bridge that I think we might have to cross later.
And it's more about the people as individuals rather than their defining characteristics.
Yes. Well, as we're sitting here in a library, in the Dewey section, there will be a number of books well written and endorsed by the religion that would cover the basic tenets and the things to know and maybe some holidays, and that's great. There's also recipe books, and that would help you to understand. One problem that people run into when they try and learn about another culture is that they only look at the holidays and the food. The Librarian Association is not particularly happy with that approach, so they like to be careful. Those books have a place. It's just not the only thing you need to know.
Right.
And that is helping to lead to the stories as well. So, do people know? No. Could they know? They could. And that's what the libraries are for.
Right. Yeah. They put the information out there. It's just people need to want to receive that information.
And that's some of the reason that the publishers haven't been making it is because the publishers are afraid that people won't purchase their books. So, folks, vote with your dollars. As my own school has recently moved from a low-high income to a high-low income, maybe even only a middle-low income school, our population has changed greatly. Where we used to be very homogenous, our major difference being that the two religious groups would have been Mormon and Catholic historically. Now there are more religions, more faces, more diversity. It's great. As the library, the parents do tend to come a little bit more often than to the other places, and visit with us and talk to us and check out. And we have had people checking out with the intent to become more fluent in English. We have had people checking out titles that they have at home in their own language to help the student become better in their home language. The library is a great community, even in the school, for just trying to answer the question you have right now. without really a vested answer that we hope you'll get to. It's different than like the office. The public library is great. It really is a mecca in the community, and people of all walks of life use the libraries.
Hi Sam, it's me Sheila. Here I am in my library. So I want to talk about how important it is for kids to see themselves in books. If you don't see yourself in a children's book, then you can't relate and you're not interested, and you think that you are a foreigner in a strange country or something. But we're all here, and these are all about all of us. And it's important to see ourselves. Old, young, fat, skinny, smart, dumb, religious, non-religious. There's so many good books for kids. And if you don't see yourself in a children's book, you start to think, well, what's wrong with me? Maybe something's not normal. Maybe I'm not normal. But here we are. Children's books today include everybody, and they should. We're all in here. Here's some more books that we love. There they are. There they are. So, luckily, if there's something that you need and something you want to read, then you can find it. And if you can't find it, librarians can find it for you. Am I in this book or not? Am I in this world? Am I part of this community? Am I part of this democracy? It's all good and important that we are all included.